Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 223, recorded on October, what is it, the 16th or the 17th? I don't know anymore. 2012. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
And I'm Scott Michaud.
Man, that was quite a jump. I expected there to be other people in between Jeremy and Scott, but there's not. It's just the three of us tonight. Both Josh and Allyn had some other things they had to take care of this evening, so you're stuck with the three of us for both either the live version or the recorded version, but we plan to make it as interesting as we can with the news that we've got. Again, quick reminder, make sure you're visiting us live for the recording if you can. pcper.com/live is the URL for that. We have all these fancy scripts that you need to know nothing about now that we are able to kind of do this on a little bit easier system. So we want to make sure that there are a lot of people in there. They're in the chat room. They're communicating with us, telling us when the lip sync is off, when the audio is bad, any of that kind of crap that may or may not actually happen. So we record at 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, 7 Pacific. So come in, pcper.com/live, and join us. So let's take a look at some of the articles that we had up this week. It was a little bit short on reviews last week. The last couple of weeks have been pretty busy, and the next couple of weeks are looking to be pretty busy as well. The first article we want to start with is actually from Scott, so we're glad to have him back this week. And this is a short editorial on stereoscopic 3D and why he is just desperately in love with it.
I wouldn't say desperately in love with it, but basically it's kind of upsetting for me to see people talk about how stereoscopic 3D and just see it as a gimmick, especially hardware manufacturers that should be the ones promoting it, not really know what it's for. If you look at a lot of stereoscopic cross-eyed 3D images on the internet, you'll notice that if you look at the combined 3D image and then look at the left and right eye components individually, it'll actually look crisper. And the reason for that, at least to my understanding, is that not only does our brain have more detail resolution, horizontally and vertically, not only does it have more color from having high contrast or whatever, but when you have 3D, it's also able to kind of wrap an object into each discrete piece. So it doesn't just have more defined resolution in a 2D plane, doesn't just have more differences between white and black and other colors to be vibrant so you can see the objects clearly. Your brain can actually just see an object, see it has bounds, see how it relates to other objects. The problem is that a lot of times you see 3D technologies and how they accomplish a 3D effect is by cutting your resolution, cutting your contrast, cutting something else that's supposed to give you crispness. So you just end up with something that pops on the screen at you, and that's it. So
how do you make this applicable to gaming, right? Like PC gaming? Is it an issue of resolution? Is it an issue of some of the things that it's doing, the brightness levels that you get when you have to wear these different 3D glasses?
It's basically that you can get a lot crisper image from that in your gaming. So it would be like getting a bump on resolution and getting other kind of lose my thoughts here. Getting other ways of seeing how the objects in the screen actually exist and kind of tricking your brain to think it's more believable. The problem is that it just never ends up working up right. We're starting to see some technologies like Oculus Rift that's trying different things to get the depth perception into your eyes. There's actually the video he just clicked on is from a Wii Remote demonstration that it just uses standard 2D TV in general. But the way it works is it tracks your head, and it turns out that one way that our brain sees 3D, it's going to be coming up later, is by paying attention to a slight bobbling of our head and noticing that as objects move in parallax, because our head constantly moves, that it can kind of determine how close and far they are. And you'll see that some of those actually look like they're coming out of a TV at you.
Right.
Because our brain, yes. Just because our brain...
I just wouldn't want to play a game for too long like that.
Yeah. Well, it depends, because that would be very comfortable. The only problem is it can only work for one person because it tracks one person's head, right? Oculus Rift is a helmet that goes over you and gives each eye its own full resolution screen. It depends on how they want to do it. There might be other ways of doing it than just having, glasses that filter one eye out and one eye in,
Right.
or a screen that pushes one eye to one eye and other eye to another eye. There might be ways that both eyes can see the same thing roughly, but still get depth information, or various other ways. And ideally, that would increase your crispness. The problem is, if it does increase your crispness, why did you do it?
I guess I don't understand the premise then, right? So, to me, it's just a neat little thing. If we can get 3D to work better, I want to see it. 3D vision, in my opinion, is a pretty good mix of kind of the detail levels you're talking about, but maybe I'm just not understanding how the brain is able to kind of mix those things. Have you ever used like the stereoscopic 3D vision technologies or anything like that to see how that compares to these kind of simple eye crossing diagrams, photos that we used in this article?
I've used some stereoscopic 3D things. I've seen a couple displays of NVIDIA's 3D, and I've also gone to the theater a couple times. A lot of times what those guys do is they tend to cut the contrast a little bit because the brightness of the monitor has to at least double, because half it's going to one eye, half it's going to the other at best. Chances are they have to cut even more out to make sure the left eye and the right eye don't see what the other guy says. So, I mean, they're getting better actually. In the comments, one guy said he went to an IMAX and it looks fine for him, and another guy was an IMAX, a theater employee that sets him up, and he says, yeah, a lot of these guys aren't calibrated properly, but if you calibrate it properly, it looks quite well, and it's not as blurry, and so on and so forth. So really, it's just a matter of people understanding what 3D is supposed to do. People think it's just like for horror films to pop stuff at you, right? But there is more purpose to that, and no one really knows. That's kind of what I was going at, to kind of show people what it was trying to accomplish.
Okay. Another story that we posted this week, we had a couple of short videos that Ken and I did here. The first one was of a device from Patriot called the Gauntlet. Now, this is the actual device here. It actually has this Node label here, but it's because it's a pre-production unit. This is not the Gauntlet Node. The basic idea is that it is a wireless hard drive. So it's a 2.5-inch hard drive inside of here, but you can see it's bigger than a traditional external 2.5-inch hard drive needs to be. It has USB 3 connectivity, and it has a lithium-ion battery in there. And it actually has a wireless router kind of embedded into it. And you can connect up to, I think, 8 devices to it. You can stream up to 5, I think, if you want to like download video on it. But the idea is that this is the 320 gig model. I think they might have others down the road, but it's called the Patriot Gauntlet 320. And you can copy your data here either wirelessly or through the USB device, but then you can either leave it plugged into the wall or use the 5-hour rated battery to just turn it on wherever you happen to be, access all the media on this device. Obviously, it works with Macs and PCs, but it also works with Android phones and iOS phones and tablets. If you look at the video in our review, you'll actually see we demo it on my phone a little bit. Here you can see a little bit better photo of the device itself. Got your wireless connectivity options and that kind of stuff. And the video review does a pretty good job of kind of summarizing everything about the particular device. Let me see if I can skip here to where we go into the control panel. That's a great screenshot to stop on. So that's just, let's see, where did I do that? Here we go. So you can go to the control panel, you can set up the security for it. You can actually do internet pass-through as well, which is pretty cool. And actually, it's more of a necessary feature. It's not really just something that's pretty cool. You have to be able to, if I connect my laptop to this, but I have internet connection that is also through Wi-Fi, I want to be able to access that. Whereas if you just connected to this, you wouldn't be able to do that. So it can connect to an SSID, pass through the internet connection that way. The only kind of drawback is you can't access Like in our office network, we have network resources. You can't access that when you are using this as a pass-through. So it'd have to be, you'd have to access it through the network itself as opposed to connecting to the device, which you can do. It's just not as advertised as a feature. But one of the other cool things you can do is you can connect to a phone and tablet. And let's see, skip ahead here in the video. We can see that I'm using Galaxy Nexus. You actually just connect to the device through the wireless network again, and you can browse the media, you can stream the media, you can, if you're on an Android platform, you can upload media, download media to and from your phone pretty easily. iOS has a little bit, I don't think it can actually do that. You can stream content, but you can't copy media back and forth that you can do on the Android OS. So there you go. You can see on the video we've got the pcper folder we're looking through, and see if it focuses on it there. Yeah, you can click into that folder. And you can see you can actually view the images, copy them, videos, all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty unique device in terms of, there are other things out there that do it, but it's cool to see other options. Use cases for this, maybe a little bit limited. Why would you need a wireless hard drive? Maybe you do a lot, maybe you're in school, you do a lot of school projects where multiple people need to share files. This is a good way to do that. If you're in a work environment where you need to share some files, maybe you are you use your tablet a lot, but you got the 16 gig version and you want to keep your movie collection with you. Well, you can take this with you on the plane. I guess that's a good option. Sure, you can turn on Wi-Fi on the plane if nobody knows about it. Or at your hotel room or whatever it is. Turn this on. You don't have to worry about USB connections to a tablet or anything like that. You just connect to it wirelessly. You can access all your media that way. If you have, even for home use, if you want to have it centrally located, you got an apartment with 3 other friends and you want to share a central storage location for things, you can use it that way without having to get into wired networking and that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting device. This 320 gig model will sell for I think it sells for $149 today at Newegg, which is not too bad. It's fairly reasonable. Performance on USB 3 was great. Performance on the Wi-Fi was not as great. I did notice it just didn't feel particularly fast. 1 or 2 megabytes per second, is what I was getting transferring media back and forth on the wireless side, which is going to be fine for streaming. Not so great for copying mass amounts of data, which is what you would use USB 3.0 for. They also have, this will actually be in my pick at the end of the show, but if you, I said this has this Node logo on here, but this is not the Node. This was just a pre-production model of the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet Node is actually just the enclosure. It has the same features, but you get just the enclosure. You add your own hard drive to it that you may already have sitting around. You can save some money that way. You still have access to the same software and features and the battery and that kind of stuff. So a neat little device. If you have a specific use case where you think a wireless hard drive would be beneficial to you, I think might be a little bit surprising how low cost they can be. You guys have any? Can you think of any use case in your own personal scenarios where a wireless hard drive might be useful?
Oh yeah, I can think of one right now. Before I kind of canceled working on stuff, I was actually going to do development on a computer over there. I just have the hard drive sit between the 2 computers and connect both of them to it, right? If I want to have do something on my tablets and have the image go to the program, I would then be able to just load it on the hard drive and connect to it from the other computers, wheel my chair over, and there it is.
Yeah.
You're supposed to being able to say streaming from your pants. Well, the only use I could think of it.
Hey guys, you want to stream some videos from my pants? No, trust me, it's a hard drive in my pants. It's a hard drive. And that's not better, is it?
Not
even without Josh here, I know better than that.
It's a giant disc.
Make sure you say the word correctly. Disc.
Giant.
Not the other way around. The other review that we posted today is, I think it was a system we may have shown a week or two ago. This is the AVADirect Mini Gaming PC. And this is, well, I'll show it to you in the article actually here. I have it sitting next to me. But this system here is based on a Bitphoenix Prodigy case. and it has these weird, you'll notice these kind of weird legs at the bottom and at the top. So legs at the bottom, handles at the top. It's literally the exact same thing, but they're made out of flex fiber or flex fiber, and they're kind of wobbly, but they're pretty strong at the same time. So I was able to lift it and twist it and hold it by one of them, and it wasn't a big deal. It's a mini ITX system inside of here. You've got an ASUS P8 Z77i Deluxe, which is a Z77 board, but it's a mini ITX form factor. The processor is a Core i7-3770K, so the top-end Ivy Bridge is overclocked to 4.4 gigahertz on all the cores, you know, when they're all up and running. It's got a GTX 680 inside. It's got 240 gig SSD, 2 terabyte hard drive, 8 gigs memory, and an 850 watt, pretty big Cooler Master power supply. So I'll go through here. You can see how the motherboard is kind of horizontally mounted, which is a little bit unique. You see the power supply underneath. Mini ITX motherboard, GTX 680. You've got room for, if you take out the optical drive, you can do 200 and a 240 cooler, or just a couple of 120 millimeter fans. Inside the system, it's kind of funny. You can look, it's pretty crowded inside there. The GTX 680 almost goes all the way across. I know that the BitPhoenix case has an optional drive cage that can go right here that was removed for the GTX 680, obviously. Behind here, you'll see a rather large Prolimatech heatsink. I think it's the Mega Halums. I don't know the naming scheme. Here's a better view of it here through the back of it. And, you know, there's actually, you can mount, I think this has support for up to 5 2.5-inch drives. And there it is with the extra drive cage installed. So it's a great system in terms of getting a lot of power into a small space. It seems to be one of the new trends is, you know, we used to get only the super big, super water-cooled quad SLI based parts, which we do have one of, and we started opening up and playing with today, but then we're also getting systems like this from AVADirect. If we look down here just real quick, performance is really good. Again, it's overclocked to 4.4 gigahertz even when all the cores are loaded, so it's not, so instead of running at 3.6 gigahertz or 3.5 gigahertz when all the cores are loaded, it's running at 4.4, so 900 or 800 megahertz increase. And you look at a couple of benchmark slides, you'll see here how it compares to the stock Core i7-3770K reference results and that kind of stuff. And then in gaming, it does do very well with GTX 680 behind it. Now, one of the things that was interesting is I took these exact components, priced it out on Newegg, priced it out on PC Part Picker, and if I can click on this link, open up the PC Part Picker page for it, we got a total of about, well, it's $1,851, $1,901 if we don't take into account rebates. So, you know, $1,851, and that doesn't include, I think, just Arctic Silver. I think was the only thing that was missing from it. And this is from all kinds of different vendors, right? Getting us the lowest possible price. Great service here, by the way. So you can see how this total system price has changed over time. But if we go back to the article, the system that we got sells from AVADirect for $2,146.46 to be precise. That is, in our estimates, about a $250 price difference between buying all the parts yourself versus ordering it from AVADirect. What do you get for that $250? You get the overclock to 4.4 gigahertz. You get a 3-year parts and labor warranty. You get less hassle having to put it together yourself, less worry about getting a specific DOA part. You know it's all been tested and run and overclocked and at least slightly burned in before it gets shipped to you. And that is something that I think more and more of our users, viewers, readers, as they get older, a little busier, have kids, all that kind of crap, that they're more interested in these types of builds. It's really competitive in terms of pricing for the specific components that you want to order. But you get a little bit more peace of mind behind it than you would DIY. I know the majority of people that listen to the show, people watch it and they read our site, want to build their own system, and I am totally for that. But it's interesting to kind of show these alternatives and to know that this is not selling for $2,800 or something outrageous like that. And if you're interested, we also do have a video review of this particular product as well. You can you see me sitting at this exact same table with the exact same screen going on behind me as we kind of visually walk through the case insides and outsides there. So you can see kind of where it is relative. It's not a super tiny mini ITX chassis. This is not as small as they get, and obviously that's because we fit such high-end components in there. That's a big heatsink on the processor, and that's a big graphics card inside the system. But it is smaller than your average machine, and it's relatively quiet. It wasn't silent, but it was relatively quiet, all things considered. So it's good system. We gave it a gold award for, I think, being very reasonably priced for the components you get. An interesting case design. Obviously, it's not something that's specific to AVADirect. You can buy every component that went into this. You can absolutely remake this entire system and save some money if you want to do the building yourself. But otherwise, I was pretty impressed. And I think we have a couple of other system reviews coming up. One of them being a huge quad GPU, water-cooled LED flashing remote control setup, and another one coming up very soon that is even smaller form factor than this, but still promises to be a really interesting gaming powerhouse. So we'll be curious to see how those kind of stack up. I think if I ask Jeremy what he thinks about pre-built systems, I'll have a solid idea. I'm not exactly sure about Scott's opinion on it, and Josh and Allyn are not here to kind of answer. So do you guys have any feedback or thoughts on this?
Well, I'm still vastly amused by the fact that the graphics card is at least the same size as the motherboard, if not slightly bigger.
Oh,
certainly weighs more.
It's much longer than the motherboard.
Putting together tiny systems like that is a real pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
And generally, for the most part, if you want any sort of decent-looking system, you're literally working with cables with about 3 centimeters slack. So it's ridiculously hard. You can still do it, and I've always enjoyed putting together systems. It's a lot of fun, but at the same time, I also like recommending for my friends, oh no, buy this pre-built system, because when it doesn't work, you can take it back to the store. They'll make it work again. It's good.
They don't have to call me.
Because if I build it, they come to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at this picture here, you'll see the motherboard stops right here. It's a mini ITX board, and the GPU keeps on going past that. And if you look at the back, I guess I didn't. Oh yeah, you can see like all these cables are hard to get to. Yeah, that's a very good point. Small form factor systems are much more of a pain in the ass to build.
Oh yeah.
Than, say, if you have a Corsair 800D and you have all the room to work in there. You can actually literally get your elbows inside of the case and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty. I was going to say a fan of pre-built systems. Generally, factory computers are fine, but I tend to like when you have a small business reseller nearby that can do all the all the maintenance for it, because I can fix it myself, or Jeremy could fix it. None of us want to, probably, or we can also tell them to go to a small business computer store, various other things. That's kind of what I like about pre-built, about not pre-built computers. But if AVADirect and them use off-the-shelf parts, there's no reason why they can't just get serviced if they don't like AVADirect's technical support, which I'm sure they probably have good ones. I don't know, but
right.
If they don't, they can go to a small business computer store, and that's one nice thing about systems like that is they have the choice.
Right, and one of the other benefits is, this is all built based on off-the-shelf components, so to speak, right? So if something goes wrong, you're outside your warranty, you buy another motherboard, buy another video card. You don't have to worry about incompatible power supplies and all that kind of stuff. This system gets old in 3 years and you want to upgrade to a completely new system, great. You can build this case a completely different system in it. 5th generation AMD APU, whatever that happens to be, or something like that, right? So you don't have to worry about as many wasted components, I'll say, if you kind of go with these vendors that are using off-the-shelf some components and that kind of deal. So, all right, let's take a break in the show today and thank our friends at MSI for sponsoring our podcast. We have another short message from Alex at MSI.
The all-new Z77 M-Power mainboard from MSI is poised to change the overclocking game. Every Z77 M-Power board will have a factory 24-hour military-class burn-in test completed before shipping. Additionally, performance-optimized features such as Go-To BIOS, Multi-BIOS 2, V-checkpoints, Bluetooth 3.0, and onboard Wi-Fi allow users convenience and total system control over their overclocking and gaming experience. This is the new endurance champion, Z77 M-Power from MSI.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Let's run through some news items here. We've got a handful to get through at least. Starting with, Jeremy just added some stuff in there. AMD finances apparently are not great. I'm sure that surprises absolutely nobody. Jeremy, tell me about their Q3 earnings and what the result was.
It's not good, which I'm sure is shocking everybody. We don't have the actual final results yet, but they've sort of announced straight out that, well, we ain't going to be meeting the target that we set. And the target they set for this quarter was to lose around about 1% when compared to last quarter. It's actually probably going to be about 10%, which is definitely not a good thing. But on the other hand, it could be a lot worse. They've been consistently downgrading their stock expectations.
Right.
We've been seeing huge losses coming out of them. So, we kind of know that this is what's happening at AMD. We know that the CPUs aren't selling very well, and that the GPUs just aren't enough to keep the entire company up and running. So, when we see the final results, you can expect that, they're looking at about down 10% from last quarter, which is also not going to look very good compared to this quarter last year.
Which kind of leads us into our next story that you also
make it even
posted
worse.
up. Yeah, about another possible workforce culling.
Yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood, and this is sort of the scary part, is they're not quite announcing it, but it's somewhere between 10 to 30%.
Yeah.
10% is a fairly frequent reduction in staffing in just about any industry. You'll see people come in and say, nope, that's it. 1 in 10 people got to go. We're literally going to decimate this company. So saying somewhere between 10 to 30% says, at the very least, it's going to be a big cut, which is normal for the industry, to 3 times that, which is going to be huge and scare the hell out of investors. When you're slashing every third person more or less, and at this point the marketing team's gone, the GPU team probably feels relatively safe. The old ATI guys, they're, for the most part, that's a business unit that's doing well. The guys on the CPU side, the guys on the R&D side, are probably not very happy right now, not feeling very secure. And frankly, neither should you be, because at the very least, this is going to delay the next generation of AMD processor coming out. At worst, it could completely derail it, and they're going to have to try and come up with something from scratch, which essentially means Intel is now allowed to release whenever they feel like competing against themselves, because they don't have to worry about any other competitors, at least in the high end.
Right.
And the pricing, well, why would Intel bother cutting prices? They don't need to. The only reason they should cut a price is because, we're going to introduce, a new Ivy Bridge model, so the previous model it's replacing will cut it by a little bit, and people will buy that one or they'll buy the new one. Either way, we don't care. We're happy. So, AMD, it's not very popular in the server room anymore. It's not very popular in the desktops, and it's certainly not popular on the streaming machines at PC Perspective.
No, the APU is not. So that's
cut the R&D budget, and guess what? It's not going to get better quickly.
right. Last time they had a ridiculous marketing term for all the firing of people, and I can't remember what it was. It was like, I want to say it was like Operation Win or
something like that.
Something very positive sounding until you realize that they were firing X number of thousands of people. They don't have anything associated with it this time around. But it's really bad news. I mean, even personally, I know a lot of people at AMD, have known a lot of people at AMD for a long time. I knew a lot of people that were in that first culling, and some people that even came back after that first culling. So maybe some of them may be hitting the road for a second time, which is really, really, really bad to see for all the reasons you mentioned and more.
If you
just
look
to
at a lot
point
of
out in that little chart that was showing, that was a 14% drop in stock prices on Friday when this was announced.
Sweet. Scott, you were going to say something?
Yeah. A while ago, you remember the big recession? Everyone knows big recession back in 2008, and the video game companies started cutting a lot of jobs very, very quickly. I was actually on my buddy's podcast. Well, actually, it was a radio show at that time, and it was me against someone else in a little quiz thing, and one of the questions came up, how much people were laid off in the 2008 firing, and the guy said like 40% or something like that, and I said I think it was 11%, it ended up being 12%. So I was like a percent off. I can't remember if I said 10 it was 11, or if I said 11 it was 12. And really what it kind of comes down to is that 7-20-10 rule that people hear from, people talk about on TV and stuff like that. Notice that it's 10 to 30% people are getting cut, which means that the 10% restructuring, which is pretty common, they've actually had a couple of those recently, they're now starting to get into that second chunk. 70% is core business, so if they start cutting it in there, that's a real big problem. But right now they're not just cutting the 10% kind of floating, they're starting to cut into the that next 20%, which is I can't remember what it was anymore.
The terminology for it, yeah. I mean, it's definitely not good. It hasn't happened yet. We should reiterate that. Like, nobody has been fired in the second round, as far as I know. So maybe it's just a rumor, but usually these tend to be grounded in truth. Something else that came up this week: pricing of retail Windows 8 and Windows 8 Pro. Tim Very wrote this up for us. We knew about, apparently, the promotional pricing for online upgrades, but retail pricing was unknown until now. So it's like the official MSRP promotions are kind of labeled in this table down here. You can see Windows 8 Pro Upgrade, Pro Upgrade Online, just the upgrade, a System Builder, a Pro System Builder, and Pro Pack-In. So you can see all kinds of differences there. The highest end one is the Windows 8 Pro System Builder for $139, and Windows 8 System Builder is $99. So that looks like it's kind of the same pricing as we had before. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? Kind of how it relates to Windows 7?
Not particularly. Actually, I just want to go back and say, though, I looked up on Wikipedia. It's actually there. It's a 70% core, 20% projects related to core,
okay,
and then 10% projects unrelated to core. That's more a time model, but it works for employee staffing as well.
Gotcha. So we have a little bit more idea of the retail. It's so funny. The idea of buying an operating system and retail seems so odd to me now. I know when Windows 7 was first launched, I actually ordered 3 or 4 box copies from Amazon. People were, going to Best Buy and getting that kind of stuff. Is that still on the mindset for the average consumer? The average consumer, first of all, the average consumer doesn't go buy a new operating system. They just kind of get one with their PC. And unlike, say, some of the Mac updates that are extremely cheap, and can you get those over the air? You could only get them, not over the air, but, download Snow Leopard and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, that seems to make a lot more sense than retail packaging does today, especially if you tell somebody it's $100.
It made a lot of sense for Windows 7 because people wanted to upgrade off of whatever they were running, because Windows 7 was a very solidly liked operating system. For upgrade from 7 to 8, kind of getting out of what I was saying, I would have possibly done it, but especially now that they kind of got rid of retail and they're basically doing only OEM or upgrade now.
Right.
It's with the OEM systems not being that, or OEM licenses not being that much more expensive.
Yeah, in fact, one of the deals we had posted on the site today was through Amazon.com. You could pre-order Windows 8 Pro and get a $30 Amazon credit for $69.99. So essentially you were getting I guess this is a full license of Windows 8 Pro for $39.99 with the $30 Amazon credit.
Well, and besides, if they don't sell the boxes, the Microsoft stores are going to look awfully empty, aren't they?
They're going to have walls and walls of this?
Yeah, they could well. But I mean, I can remember back in the day, you used to be able to get shipped to you from Microsoft, essentially for free, a physical copy of like XP Service Pack 3. And it was literally the install of Service Pack 3. And it would come in a nice box, branded CD and everything. So I mean, the moving away from a DVD is a very new thing, I think, for Microsoft. Mm-hmm. They've always offered it downloadable, especially for TechNet, but that's what they think of. It's, the technicians, they'll just download it, do whatever they want with it. But the physical people, even if they buy a machine, they're going to want a physical disk to say, look, I did buy the operating system. Here it is right here in this disk. Well, actually, that disk was never used to install it in the first place, but, it's there to make you feel better. So, it's nice to see that they're thinking more about just online distribution of it, but at the same time, I'd be really surprised if they drop the box anytime soon.
Either you guys pre-order Windows 8?
Oh, totally, yeah.
I was considering it actually, but like I said, about 2 months ago, I decided just avoid it. Stick with Windows 7. Make sure Microsoft knows my opinion of it.
So there's an easy way to get bacon grease off the screen. I don't really want a touchscreen UI on my computer.
Cleaning cloths. Invest in cleaning cloths. All right. Let's see. Did we have any other... Oh, I lost my page. Here we go. Oh, yeah. ASUS announced the PadFone 2. In case you forgot that there was a PadFone... that there is a PadFone 1. I don't know if I even want to get into this. So,
it's a phablet.
The PadFone launched 6 months ago in April and starting in Taiwan. It was fairly nice pieces of hardware, 2 different ones. This was the phone that could dock inside a tablet that then became, a cellular connected tablet. It used the processing power from the phone to do that. What was the Motorola device that could do that? The Atrix, I think it was a long time ago that did that. It's the same idea. So the original PadFone screen was 4.2 inches. The new one the upgraded one is 4.7, and the screen dock is 10.1 inches. It has interesting specs: Super IPS plus screen, 720p resolution. Interesting device.
Decent camera.
Yeah.
That camera is... Okay, so first off, it has a f2.4 aperture, which if you can... It doesn't say how close its focal distance is, but if you can get really close, you might actually be able to get really sharp depth of field shots. So if you want to take a picture of a kid's face and have the background blur off, it's going to be ridiculously open, more open than my SLR for that. Again, assuming you can actually focus in that far. It's 13 megapixels. Hopefully there's a lens that can focus down that far, like I said, because if it's, pixels are this big, if you can switch, pixels are this big, focus is this big, that's not really going to help. You're going to waste every fifth pixel or 5 of every pixel.
I tell you, I do like the new docking methodology. It looks much slicker now than the other one did, where you popped open this door, you kind of shoved the phone in and closed the door, and it looked really clunky. This looks quite a bit smoother. Obviously, one of the big things is now you have larger battery as well. You get a 5,000 milliamp hour battery when it's in the dock, but you have to power a larger screen as well. So I'm sure that will drain some of it. It's rated at 13 hours with just the phone itself. Now, we mentioned this only kind of in passing because it's not a U.S. product. Go ahead, Scott.
Not yet. There's no announcement of the North American stuff yet. The biggest part of the camera, though, is because they upgraded 2 gigabytes of RAM, they let you do about 16 seconds of solid burst mode. So you can take 100 solid shots at full 6 frames per second, which is probably about 8 times more than my camera SLR can do. So they basically just said, well, you have 2 gigabytes in there.
Fill it up.
As many shots as you want. That is insane. So if you're trying to take a picture of, a bird jumping or a squirrel jumping or something like that, you can just hold it there, and if it takes that action sometime in the next 16 seconds, you got it.
That's cool. That's probably most people's biggest complaint about camera phones is their speed. The fact that they're slow, you miss a shot. There's all kinds of stuff that can go on there. This kind of stuff is cool. I wish we had U.S. partners line up to sell this. I really wish we just had a device market in the U.S. instead of a carrier market in the U.S. To have these kind of things come out and be successful. We'll see. I think it's going to come out obviously over in Asia and probably parts of Europe first. So we'll see. It has LTE support in there. It's running Android ICS. So
it'll come out this month.
Cool device. We'll have to see what we get from there. All right. I did want to mention this. This is just kind of a special nod out to our friends at alxtech.net. They are the guys who are graciously hosting our PC Perspective gaming server that we did our UT 2004 on. We do Counter-Strike Source on, or Counter-Strike Go. What else have we run? We can do Day of Defeat, all kinds of different stuff that we're lining up to play on these. I know we've talked about them before, but they just upped the ante, actually, for the deal for our viewers and readers. You can see here, if you go to alxtech.net/pcper, you can see all the specials for PC Perspective viewers and listeners. And it says here, game server starting at 65 cents a slot. Well, I have word from Cam at ALX Tech that they're actually offering this now at 50 cents per slot for gaming servers. So if you're looking to have a small gaming server for your group of friends, for your community, your forums, whatever it happens to be, you need to go to alxtech.net/pcper and go here and sign up. Now, it says 65 cents. They told me it's 50. If they don't give you 50, you just let me know. But there's a promo code in there, PCper Gaming, and you can see a list of all the games that they support. A ton of Steam games, all the Valve games that you could possibly think of, and things going on there. Plus, they still have hosting as well, and you can get a great deal on hosting, like 10 gigabytes of space for $4.25 a month. I mean, for a website, that's pretty impressive. cPanel-based hosting, third-party app support like Drupal, WordPress, all that kind of deal. And again, there's a promo code for that, and it's PCper Hosting to get that discount. So I wanted to mention that, since they were lowering that price from 65 cents to 50 cents for PCper readers. If you want to have one, I mean, that's, you get a 20 slot server for $10 a month. And you can load whatever game you want on there and that kind of deal. That's pretty impressive, and we thank them for hosting our servers for us so that we can all game throughout the week and after the podcast. So, moving on. Intel is planning 10-core Xeon E5-2600 Ivy Bridge EP CPUs. There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of nomenclature here, and this roadmap is not exactly the most clear thing you've probably ever looked at. But as Tim writes, a leaked slide reveals their upcoming Xeon branded server chips coming just next quarter. Oh, I'm sorry, in Q3 2013, not this coming Q3. That's incorrect. So basically, Ivy Bridge EP processor, it'll be compatible with motherboards on the LG 2011 socket. So if you have one of those Sandy Bridge E systems, this could be interesting. The Xeon E5-2600 V2 has a 70-watt TDP, and they will go up to 130, 10 physical cores with hyper-threading to handle a maximum of 20 threads. Each physical core has access to 256K of L2 cache, and the chip has a total of 30 megs of L3 cache. Support 1866 DDR3 memory. That's pretty impressive stuff. And they also will be releasing products higher end than that have 12 physical cores and 24 threads running on Intel's 22nm processing technology. So, if you bought Sandy Bridge E, it's been a long time, and it will still be a long time, it sounds like, but there will be upgrade options for you, 10 or 12 core processors down the line. That would be really useful for us here. We have an LGA 2011 system, right, that's running. We could use 12 cores with 24 threads. We wouldn't have had to split up the streaming and switching part of things. But we didn't want to wait till Q3 2013. So, I don't know. Any other input on that? It's pretty straightforward with what you're getting. But it is cool to see. I don't even know. I may be lying about saying that your existing 2011 motherboard will be able to work with it, because there may be kind of power changes and all that kind of stuff that could happen as well. So, nothing? All right. Move on. Corsair is raising money for charity with a 24-hour gaming marathon. Have you guys ever participated in one of these gaming marathons?
Like an official one, or just a weekend with beer and gaming? Yeah,
okay, maybe let's rephrase that. Have you ever been on a 24-hour gaming binge, not a 24-hour gaming marathon? Like, marathon just kind of implicitly mentions organization and that kind of stuff, whereas in this case it could just be for no apparent reason. But Corsair is doing it for a specific reason. They are doing charitable work for Children's Hospital and Research Center in Oakland. They're doing a 24-hour long gaming session, and they'll have a live stream. It runs on October 20th, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and I believe this is extralife.org is the charitable kind of organization around this. So you can see here's our team Corsair, and they've raised $2,600 so far. So if you want to help them out, You can absolutely do that if you go to our go to pcper.com and look for our post about the Corsair gaming marathon. It has a link to the Extra Life page here, and you can donate to the worthy cause. This may be something we try to at least help out on. Do some gaming along with them, if nothing else. I think Jeremy and Scott could handle an hour session or so to make sure we have everything going strong. I'll let you pick the game.
Actually, that's the day I'm off, so probably.
Nice. All right. I think the last thing we have for today is actually notification of another contest we're having. This is a little bit different. We have some AMD APUs left over from QuakeCon. Right? Here we go. We got 4 AMD A8 3870K APUs with coolers. And I was like, man, I need to get these off the shelf. How can I do that? So we decided to just run a real simple contest. And how do you access it? You go to youtube.com/pcper. It's the simplest contest we've ever run, I think. youtube.com/pcper. All you have to do is go there and leave a comment on that video on the YouTube page. And then make sure you're a subscriber to the pcper channel. If you are both of those things, you will be entered. We'll just kind of randomly pick a comment of the many comments that are there by next week. Make sure you are a subscriber to the pcper channel, and we will give you one of these 4 AMD APUs, all on a strive to build up that pcper channel.
And I have to say, that's like the most intelligent comment section I've ever seen on YouTube.
Yeah, you know, when you're offering to give stuff away, they tend to be less obnoxious than when you're just trying to inform them about stuff. So, yeah, you're right. There's, like, awesome, thank you. Like, look, that's a great comment, right?
Yeah, like, how often do you see that on YouTube?
See, look, you guys are very underrated, in my opinion. See, this guy's sucking up. It works. It works, guys. I mean, the random number generator doesn't think that it works.
Merchandising, merchandising, merchandising.
Yeah, so that's cool. Go there. I keep saying this wrong. pcper.com/YouTube is not the correct URL. It is youtube.com/pcper. I guess we could make the other one work, but nah. youtube.com/pcper is the place to go for that. Now let me look through here, because this has been a really short episode of the podcast. When you don't have Josh to ramble on about some AMD earnings call, things tend to compress here. Right? And Allyn didn't have any storage stuff for us this week either. So I guess not. Let's move into our hardware and software picks. I hope you guys have something interesting. Mine is, wow, that Newegg page did not load well at all. Wow. Way to go, Newegg. That's pretty awesome. I just refreshed it too. Mine was the thing I mentioned earlier, the Patriot Gauntlet. Essentially the same device that we talked about in a review. This is the Gauntlet 320. You can buy one that does not have a hard drive pre-installed. It's $100, so you're saving $50, $60, $70 depending on where you buy this at. Not a huge amount of savings. It's a pretty good deal for the 320 gig hard drive. But if you happen to already have, if you're like me, or you have a laptop that you took the old 2.5-inch hard drive out, you replace it with an SSD, you probably have this 2.5-inch hard drive. You're like, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. External docks are one way. This wireless dock is another way. So for $99, you can get the Patriot Memory Gauntlet Node USB 3.0 wireless hard drive enclosure for $99. I think I might sell for $89 on Amazon as well. I don't really care where you buy it. So that would be my suggestion if it's useful for you. Jeremy?
Well, I saw something today which was probably the most bizarre and obnoxious keyboard I have ever seen. It's the Mad Catz Stalker 7. It sort of looks more like a guitar or some sort of high-tech gun than a keyboard. In fact, you kind of got to look to see the keys on it in between, like the LCDs and the backlights and the palm rests, which are adjustable to like millimeter precision. It's got somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 macro keys. The little LCD screen that you see there is a touch screen. Seriously, $300 for this thing. If you really need a keyboard that does this sort of thing, you should probably get yourself checked into a hospital somewhere. This is ridiculous, people. I mean, hey, I'm sure there's somebody out there that plays a Mamorpaga that really does need every single one of those bloody keys. But you're paying $300 for a keyboard.
What's the touchscreen do?
It has macro buttons and semi-limited features on it. You can't just download any app and run it on it. There's a few, up to and including a dedicated TeamSpeak app on it, where it'll list all of the TeamSpeak channels that you can log into, and once you've logged into it, you can then pick and choose the various TeamSpeak commands that you would normally just use a keystroke to do. But now you can stop typing and play with your touchpad for a little bit.
So your hardware pick is to not buy this.
It's an anti-pick. This is don't encourage them.
Okay.
Do not encourage. Hey, the mouse that they put out is rather impressive. And frankly, if you're doing a gaming marathon like we were talking about before, you want a mouse that you can make longer, shorter, taller, wider, everything. But this is going too far. Don't encourage them.
Alrighty. Scott? I'm sorry, it took me a little bit of a delay there because I'm used to going down Josh, Allyn, then Scott. Skip right ahead.
Okay. Well, first thing I gotta say is actually that's not the first $300 keyboard I've seen. There was one brand for Star Wars: The Old Republic from Razer, and I think it was $250, and it had a touch screen on the side and all that other stuff as well.
Ken did remind me that he reviewed a $1,600 keyboard. The what was it? The Optimus Maximus, and apparently it was the crappiest keyboard he'd ever used.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because that's actually mechanical. Well, it's the crappy mechanical Cherry ML. It's for laptops.
All the screens apparently were going out, and it was just bad to type on, he said. So.
Oh, so like quality control. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my pick, if you remember last time, I picked a power supply for my PC.
Okay. All right.
I installed it, and I still had the same problem. So it turns out that...
Troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting. I popped out half my sticks of RAM. So my pick is 12 gigabytes of RAM. I had 24. But it turns out that my processor and motherboard just could not handle 6 sticks of 4 gigabyte RAM.
Say that carefully.
All at the same time. Yeah, I know. I've lisped enough as it is. So it just couldn't handle it all at the same time. So you just, playing on a game or something like that, or doing a video, and all of a sudden you just completely power down. Well, turns out it just couldn't handle the RAM. So that solves my problem.
Hey, if that's what it was, more power to you. And hey, 12 gigs of memory is great.
Yep, 24 was better when it was up.
Apart from it not working.
Well, you get bigger DIMMs, like higher capacity. Maybe
that's the maximum the Core i7 can take.
Oh well. So yeah, there we go. That is the entire episode. Did I leave anything out? Are we usually? I don't think so.
I can ramble if you want.
No.
Well, we're still over an hour.
Well, yeah.
You're saying YouTube comments are really good. I can actually bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, we do have to post this video to YouTube as well. So yeah, let's not do it on purpose. It happens enough. It happens enough. So we're going to close out the show here, guys. I want to thank everybody who joined us live again. pcper.com/live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays is the place to be for that. And make sure you're just visiting pcper.com in general for our reviews and news. And if you haven't noticed, if you go to forums.pcper.com, we upgraded those. We got the latest version of the software, the stylizing, and there's all that changed and everything. So that is back up and running after a nearly 15-hour re-indexing process on the database.
Telling you to make a great benchmark.
We don't have time for 15-hour benchmarks.
Actually, a great one would be HardOCP's forums there. That'd probably take a week. Yeah,
well, we had 4.54 million posts that had to be re-indexed. Anytime you go through a major software revision change on the forums, they change the way the index works and how the searching works. So you have to rerun the search index. And so basically what that does is it reads every post that was ever made, finds the keywords, organizes those, and search, and creates a new search index table. And it took 14 hours, 37 minutes, and some odd number of seconds to fully complete that process on the server. So that was fun to watch, just to see it kind of iterate through, thinking, I hope this finishes and doesn't crash in the interim. So check those out if you have not already. We would appreciate that. So we'll see you next week, guys. We'll have a completely full show next week. We're actually going to have a guest. I guess it's okay to say, yeah. Linus from Linus Tech Tips is going to join us on the show, and we're going to compare YouTube EPing. So he's going to just totally destroy us, unless this APU contest really picks up the bandwidth. So see you guys next week. I'm Ryan Shrout. Apparently, Jeremy, you muted yourself right before that.
It's true. I'm a muted Jeremy Hellstrom.
And I'm a not muted Scott Michaud, much to your chagrin.
Exactly. See you guys.